Merton, and come and join me for my new series with this week's special guests, who are Keith Floyd and Melinda Messenger. And my son Malcolm, he's very excited about meeting the pair of them. You know, Keith Floyd and Melinda Messenger. That is lovely.
Mrs. Merton returns Thursday at 10:20 on BBC One.
You betrayed me.
He's disconnected the phone. He's making you burn the mail. Nobody is allowed out. He's trying to cut us off from the outside world. You can't keep me away from her.
I can do anything I like. It'll make you wish you'd never been born.
Why don't you do something?
The day of reckoning is coming.
Get out!
Blessed are the dead which die in the Lord.
Heaven on earth. The conclusion. Sunday at 9:05 on BBC One.
Larry's keeping an eye out for the egos. They're getting bigger and bigger, but everyone still loves him. The Larry Sanders Show on BBC Two in a moment. Going for green emeralds, that is, in 10 minutes on BBC One, Omar Sharif, Anne Archer and Ryan O'Neill make a date with the Jewel Barons in the film. An update from the team at Crimewatch UK, now on BBC One, with Nick Ross and Jill Dando.
Welcome back. Well, if you were watching earlier, you'll have seen the emotional plea from the husband of Tina Thorne, who was killed by a hit-and-run driver in Basildon in Essex on New Year's Eve. It's a hopeful sign. We've had several calls, 14 of them naming the same man, and it's a similar situation in other cases too.
Let's start with a very unusual crime, but a very unpleasant one that's drawn a big response from viewers. 3 masked men with a gun bursting into someone's home in a daylight robbery. It's technically called an aggravated burglary, but the reality is these men need to be caught. Paul Fell, how much closer are you to finding them tonight?
Hopefully we're getting there. We've had in excess of 60 calls so far, both here and back at the station in Kettering.
A lot of people have been prepared to put names and addresses to them. You were telling me a moment ago, nothing sort of sets off buzzers and bells or neon lights.
Not at this stage, but we're hopeful, and particularly in relation to the EFITs. We've had a good response and a number of leads from them showing of those after the reconstruction.
2 men, both said to be sort of North African looking, one 5'6", one 5'10". You had a very interesting call from a taxi driver. Tell me about that.
A local taxi driver has rung in to say that 2 or 3 days prior to the robbery taking place, he was at the railway station car park in Kettering, in that area, where he saw a bright red Mondeo with the wheel trims missing, containing 3 men who had obviously been using the cafeteria facilities, and that's 2 or 3 days. This is a busy area of the town. There must have been other people there that can ring in.
And a bright red Mondeo is absolutely critical to this inquiry. And of course there are CCTV, closed-circuit television cameras at the station.
That's correct, and that's another angle that we'll be looking at.
Paul, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, that last case provoked passion and sympathy, but so did our appeal in which a mother of 3 was killed on New Year's Eve. Tina Thorne was getting out of her car when she was struck by someone driving recklessly. Tina's husband, Mel, appealed for help to trace the killer tonight, and Detective Superintendent David Bright has been going through the calls. David, 14 calls naming the same man out of only about 60 altogether. Now, in all your years of policing, would you think that the net was closing in on this person?
It would seem, yes, that is the case. It's certainly very encouraging that 14 different people have taken the time to call us naming the same man. My advice now really to that individual is the net is closing in, and do what I suggested at the beginning of this programme, walk into a police station now. I say that for 2 reasons really. We will catch up with you very soon, but bearing in mind that the 3 children, Tina Thorne's 3 children, have stayed up late this evening to watch this programme, it would be nice for them to go to bed now, knowing the person responsible has had the courage to walk in and answer the questions that are going to be put to him.
And let's not forget that the case isn't closed, because by no means is it certain that you do have your man. We still want more calls.
We still need more calls. The calls so far, the 14, they are giving us the identity of the photo fit. That doesn't necessarily mean that is the man responsible, but I'm very confident, and the way to resolve that problem is for that person to come forward and let us talk.
Well, let's hope you have some news. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, a fantastic response to our video items tonight. First, the assault on the young lad on the train. 45 calls to the incident, and in fact 7 people have named the same man as being in the video, so that looks promising. The attempted deceptions in Romford, 15 calls in total, 5 callers naming the same person, and 2 of those were police officers, so that looks good. Highgate indecent assaults, we've had 16 calls, a few suspects' names, but if you have any more ideas, please keep calling. Delivery van thefts, there's been an interesting twist in this case, which unfortunately I can't go into, but watch this space, we might have more news. NatWest check deceiver, 10 calls, 4 calls have given the same name, so that looks pretty good. And finally Guildford TSB deception, 8 calls, and would you believe on this one the same name twice, so they're all pretty good tonight.
Well, now the rape of a schoolgirl, an attack that's caused a great deal of disquiet in the community of Harlow in Essex. The victim was walking back from a school carol concert just before Christmas. Well, Terry Gardner, how has the response been for you tonight?
There's been a tremendous response from the public. We've had well over 100 calls now, many of those giving us names of people that we can now go away and check, and as we said, we can check that with our forensic.
And you can eliminate them quite easily if they're not the person you're looking for?
Very quickly, very discreetly.
Have you had calls from, we made appeals for drivers to come forward who may have seen him running, or a person anyway, running rather erratically across First Avenue that night, 11th of December?
Certainly the calls that have come in here, we've not identified those drivers yet. So again, I would urge them, if they were driving along the road that night and they saw this man, please phone us.
All witnesses are crucial.
Absolutely.
Now, how is the girl? She was 15, it happened just before Christmas. I mean, a traumatic experience for anyone.
I think it's a traumatic experience for anybody of whatever age, but at 15, I think it destroyed a part of her world. She is a very bright girl, she did extremely well at school, but now we can see some cracks appearing in her behaviour. But of course, just as important, we have to look after the parents as well, because it's affecting them as well.
Terry, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now to Operation Whirlwind. So I just wondering we'll take a call if this is you. Just bear with us a moment. Operation Whirlwind is the name of a police investigation into one man who in 1996 and 1997 mounted at least 14 armed bank raids. They all happened around the Midlands, often just after 10 in the morning and usually about a month apart. And Sergeant Jeremy Crew has spent the last 2 years trying to find this guy. Are you any closer to him tonight?
Well, it's been encouraging, the response from the programme. We've had over 40 calls and going through them, at least 25 of those have produced lines of inquiry for us. So yes, very encouraged.
In several of our other appeals tonight, we've had multiple callers giving the same name. Has that happened here?
There's certainly for the first time on this inquiry a name that has been given to us, and the context that it has been given to us, we're treating that as an utmost priority.
Really? I know one of the officers who took one of those calls was really quite excited about it. He said, look, I've taken a lot of important tip-offs, this is one.
That's right. I mean, every now and again a call comes in and the context of that call and the way that it's made triggers something to say, I think there's something a bit different, and we've certainly had one of those calls this evening.
Jeremy, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we know who these next 4 faces are, but where were they? David Burgess, he's due to return to prison. Over 40 callers have rung in, and some sightings fairly recently, but we still need to know where he is tonight. Richard John Ramsey Burrows, some good calls, nearly 40 of them, and a number of possible recent sightings on canals, which obviously fits in with our previous information. Terry Hill, we want to speak to him about an aggravated burglary. There's one particularly good call, which is being acted on as I speak, so watch this space. And finally, Neil Forbes Pringle. 12 calls in total, 1 possible sighting in Scotland, but if you know where he is tonight, please ring.
Well, now the armed robbery in the seaside town of Brighton in Sussex. It happened last November in the Lanes district, and the culprits weren't only noticed by shoppers in the area, but they were also seen by closed-circuit television cameras too. Well, Mark Thompson, as with a number of our cases this evening, several names been put forward more than once, or one name been put forward more than once.
That's right, Jill. Good general response to the feature. We've had the same name given to us 3 times now for the gunman.
Now this is the one with the dreadlocks and the crash helmet that we saw.
That's correct, and obviously we'll be following those inquiries up very quickly.
Now you're rather interested to hear from the driver of a Cavalier that was seen hanging around outside the shop around the same time.
That's correct. A man has telephoned us, told us that he was driving a Cavalier in that area on the specific time and date, so obviously we contacted him very shortly.
So he may be innocent, it may not have been a getaway car, but even so you still want anyone with information about those cars to call.
Yes, indeed, yes.
And what about the jewellery that was stolen? £100,000 worth altogether. Any information on that?
We've had a few calls about the jewellery, specifically one where a dragonfly brooch featured was offered for sale in a motorway services.
So plenty to act on there.
Indeed so, yes.
I said in the main programme, not the greatest volume of calls tonight, but some really valuable information. Our lines here in the studio are closing about now, but you'll see other numbers in a moment. Please ring them if you can help. And those numbers are listed on CFAX on page 621. If you're online, you can email us at crimewatchuk at the BBC. That's cwuk@bbc.co.uk. And of course, all information on appeals is passed on to the police.
And if you've any information on a crime we haven't covered, try Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. Now, Crime Stoppers have taken calls from Crimewatch viewers that have solved several of our appeals, one of them for murder.
Join us a month from now on Tuesday, March the 24th. Meanwhile, though, of course, tonight we've drawn together some pretty unpleasant crimes. We hope we're on the way to solving them. In fact, I think we are, so don't have nightmares. Sleep well. Good night.
Good night.
It weighs as much as a double-decker bus.
It's got the instinct in it to kill people and, you know, to defend itself.
With skin 3 inches thick.
Yes, we're ready to go.
It will resist your effort capture and could swat you like a fly.
One wipe of that leg can break both your legs.
So how do you move not one but a whole herd of elephant across the African veldt? Steel cages, iron will and an epic journey combined for Operation Elephant in The Mission, tomorrow at 10:45 on BBC One.
So a long weekend in front of many of us. I hope you have a good weekend too and that you've got a long one.
Auntie's bloomers are coming down.
Strong feelings of guilt and insecurity surrounding stepchildren and step-parenting.
You're not seeing any of my boobs on television.
Sometimes get these lines right, and I got an award for getting right.
Auntie reveals all. Sunday at 7:10 on BBC One.
They shimmer, they glisten, they don't always bring good luck. A fondness for something green now on BBC One. Ryan O'Neill seeks out the green ice.